back so the jury can see. Are you able to see that screen okay?
I don't think all the jurors can see it now.
I want to be able to play it for the defendant to be able to see it up close.
I understand. I'm just thinking if perhaps he could take the chair that the officer is in right now. And do you want to go over there as well?
Would you, would it be easier, Mr. Rittenhouse, if you came and stood a little closer to that screen?
Is that the same definition?
Well, you know, and you're using the pointer, so we want to all be looking at the same TV.
Okay.
Okay.
Would it be appropriate for Mr. Rittenhouse to come
Sure.
stand closer to the TV?
As long as he doesn't block the jurors, he and Mr. Richards can go over here.
All right,
And,
let's, I'll move this back.
stand right down there if you would, please.
Let's go back to the beginning of the video, please, and I'm going to tell you when to pause.
Don't watch that one. We can't see. Wow.
All right, let's start the video. Pause. Mr. Rittenhouse, you just came into the screen, put the fire extinguisher down, and now you've got your weapon raised, don't you? Let's play it one more time. Pause. Mr. Rittenhouse, can you see in that video that you've raised your weapon and pointed it at someone?
I can't tell from this angle.
Let's play it one more time.
Your Honor, he's answered the question.
Well, he says he can't see, so I'm trying to help him see. Go ahead. Pause. Pause the video.
It doesn't look like I raised my rifle. It looks like my shoulder's up, but my rifle is pointed downward.
Thank you. Whoa. All right. So your testimony today under oath is that you have no memory of raising and pointing your rifle when you first got to that location. Is that right?
Yes.
You see yourself put the fire extinguisher down.
I see myself drop it. Yes.
Let's play Exhibit 84 now, please. Go ahead and play. Pause. In this video, at this point, Mr. Rittenhouse, you have turned around and you are pointing your weapon at Mr. Rosenbaum, correct?
Yes.
And there is a point. Let's continue the video, please. All right, let's pause. Go back and start at the beginning again, please. Pause. You go back about half a second, please. Go back just a little bit more, please. Why don't you go back to the beginning, hit play, and I'll try and pause you a little bit better. Pause. There's a point where Mr. Rosenbaum is running after you where he raises his hands and leaps up in the air, correct?
I wouldn't say he leaped in the air. I'd say he continued to run at me. He just threw his hands up.
He threw both of his hands up in the air, right?
Yes.
And you could see that he was unarmed, correct?
Yes.
Please continue the video. Pause. Joseph Rosenbaum never touched you in any way during that incident, correct?
He touched my gun.
He didn't touch your body in any way, did he?
No.
He didn't kick you?
No.
He didn't punch you?
No.
Other than that plastic bag, he didn't throw anything at you?
No.
He didn't have a gun on him?
No.
He didn't have a knife on him?
No.
He didn't have a chain on him?
No.
He didn't have a bat on him?
No.
He didn't have any weapon of any kind, correct?
Other than him grabbing my gun, no.
Well, he didn't have possession of that gun. You did, correct?
I was holding it, yes.
And it was strapped to your body, correct?
Yes.
At all times during this incident, you retained possession of your AR-15, correct?
Yes.
Can we please play exhibit, I apologize, Brian, I don't know if I mentioned this one earlier. I think it's 83. It's the full speed version of what we just saw. That was 84 just now, right? Okay, let's play 83, please. Mr. Rittenhouse, while you're watching this video, I'd like you to tell me if you see Mr. Rosenbaum jump up in the air with his hands up, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead and play. All right, pause. Can we go back to the beginning, please? And play again. Pause. Right before Mr. Rosenbaum disappears behind that car, did you see him jump up in the air with his hands out?
No, I saw him do something like this, like...
That was a reaction to you pointing the gun at him, correct?
Yes, but he kept running at me, so it didn't deter him.
But it slowed him down a little bit. He does this sort of jump with his hands in the air when you're pointing the gun at him, right?
No, he continues to gain speed on me.
Okay. Now let's play Exhibit 86, please. Go ahead. All right, pause it. Did you slow down?
Did I?
Yeah.
I turned around, and I may have slowed down a little bit.
It looks like you slowed down before you even turned around.
Yes.
You've characterized Mr. Rosenbaum as advancing on you, speeding up towards you, but you actually slowed down, didn't you?
Because of the people around the cars, yes.
But after the shooting, you run around those cars and head back towards the direction you originally wanted to go to, right?
Yes.
So those people didn't stop that, did they?
They weren't there after I shot Mr. Rosenbaum.
They scattered after you fired your gun 4 times, didn't they?
Yes, they weren't there anymore.
And you've heard Dr. Kelly's testimony that the first gunshot from you to Mr. Rosenbaum caused Mr. Rosenbaum to start falling to the ground. Did you hear that testimony?
I did.
And then you continued to fire 3 more shots into him after that, didn't you?
I continued to fire until he was no longer a threat to me.
When he's falling to the ground in front of you, he's no longer a threat to you. His pelvis is broken, right?
I don't know.
But he's fallen to the ground, isn't he?
I saw him lunging towards my gun, and I remember his hand on the barrel of my gun.
Because he was trying to push it out of the way so you wouldn't shoot him.
Objection, that calls for speculation.
Sustained.
What was the risk to you of death or great bodily harm at the moment you killed Joseph Rosenbaum?
If I would have let Mr. Rosenbaum take my firearm from me, he would have used it and killed me with it and probably killed more people if I would have let him get my gun.
Mr. Rosenbaum never said anything to you about taking your gun, did he?
He didn't say anything, but he tried to take my gun.
And whoever's got that gun is a threat to everyone else?
If he would have taken my gun, he would have used it against me.
Let's break that down. First of all, you had already prevented him from taking your gun by running away and doing that little dip and dodge that Mr. McGinnis talked about, right?
He was still coming after my gun.
But you could have kept running. You could
No,
have turned back around like you did, couldn't you?
No, I couldn't have.
You have the gun strapped to your body at this moment, correct?
Yes.
The strap is designed to keep that on your body so it doesn't come off, correct?
To help retain it, yes.
And you have both hands on the gun, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Rosenbaum has never said anything at all about wanting your gun. You never heard him say anything about that, correct?
I haven't.
You never said anything, he never said anything to you about using that gun at all, correct?
I don't know what Mr. Rosenbaum was thinking when he tried to grab my gun.
You just assumed that he was going to use it, that he was going to try and take it from you, first of all, and then you assumed he was going to try and use it on you.
If I would have let Mr. Rosenbaum get my gun, he would have killed me.
But you had already pointed your gun at him.
Yes, because he was chasing me.
Did you want him to think that you were going to shoot him?
No, I never wanted to shoot Mr. Rosenbaum.
Why'd you point it at him if you didn't have any intention of shooting?
He was chasing me. I was alone. He threatened to kill me earlier in that night. I didn't want to have to shoot him.
But you understand how dangerous it is to point a gun at someone, don't you?
I pointed at him because he kept running at me, and I didn't want him to chase me.
But you understand how dangerous that is, don't you?
I pointed at him because he was chasing me.
I'll ask the question a third time, Mr. Rittenhouse. You understand how...
Don't comment. Just ask your question.
You understand how dangerous it is to point a gun at someone, correct?
Yes.
You understand that that puts someone else in fear that they're about to be killed, right?
He was chasing me.
You understand that when you point your AR-15 at someone else, that may make them feel like they are about to be killed by you, correct?
Mr. Rosenbaum was chasing me. He said he was going to kill me if he got me alone. I was alone. I was running from him. I pointed at him, and it didn't stop him from continuing to chase me.
Did you hear my question?
Yes.
Yet you chose not to answer it.
Objection, Your Honor. He answered. He just didn't like the answer.
My question is, you understand that when you point your AR-15 at someone, it may make them feel like you're going to kill them, correct?
Calls for speculation. Relevance.
He asked if it would affect someone that way so as to perhaps deter the person.
Do you understand my question?
I do.
Can you please answer it?
I did. I said, Mr. Rosenbaum was chasing me. I pointed my gun at him, and that did not deter him. He could have ran away instead of trying to take my gun from me. but he kept chasing me. It didn't stop him.
Mr. Rittenhouse, you're telling us that you felt like you were about to die, right?
Yes.
But when you point the gun at someone else, that's going to make them feel like they're about to die, right? That's what you wanted him to feel.
No.
You wanted him to get the message from you that if you come any closer, I'm going to kill you. That's why you pointed the gun at him, right?
I pointed the gun at him to deter him from... I pointed the gun at him so he would stop chasing me. That's why I pointed the gun at him.
Because if you point the gun at him, you were hoping he would stop chasing you because he would get the message from you that if he keeps coming, you're going to kill him, right?
I didn't want to have to kill Mr. Rosenbaum.
That's not the question I asked.
Serving no legitimate purpose.
It seems argumentative,
I
Mr.
can't hear Mr. Richards' objection.
He said it serves no useful purpose, it's badgering. It does seem argumentative.
You intended, in that sequence we just saw, you intended to point your gun back at Mr. Rosenbaum in the middle of the parking lot, right?
I pointed it at him so he would stop chasing me, but he didn't stop.
That was your intentional decision to point at him. That wasn't an accident.
I'm going to interrupt here. The jury cannot see you.
I thought we'd moved it. I'm sorry.
No, so please get it out of there.
The point I'm trying to get at, Mr. Rittenhouse, is that that wasn't like an accidental turning around and it just happens to be pointing in his direction, much like I'm just happen to, wave this around. You made an intentional decision in the middle of that incident to turn and point the gun at Mr. Rosenbaum, correct?
Yes.
And you can understand why that would make someone fearful for their life, right?
But he continued to chase me after, so no, I can't.
It didn't work.
It didn't stop Mr. Rosenbaum from chasing me.
And even after you shoot him one time and he starts falling, you continue to shoot 3 more times, right?
I continued to shoot until he was no longer a threat to me.
And then after that, you run around and he's lying there, face down on the ground, correct?
Yes.
And you're a medic, correct?
I have first aid training, yes.
Well, you proclaimed yourself that night to be a medic, an EMT. You told everyone that, right?
Yes.
And you had your medic bag with you, correct?
Yes.
And this location is right across the street from a hospital, isn't it?
Yes.
But your first thought was run away.
My first thought was to help him.
You didn't do anything to help him. You didn't do a single thing, did you?
The crowd started to scream, "Get him, get him, get him," and I didn't want to stay there with the crowd building and the mob advancing on me.
Were you surprised that a crowd would react that way when they just saw you shoot someone?
I don't know.
When you stood over Mr. Rosenbaum's body, did you know?
I'm Go ahead.
When you stood over Mr. Rosenbaum's body, did you know whether he was dead or alive?
I didn't.
Did you know whether or not it was possible at that moment to try and save him?
I wanted to help Mr. Rosenbaum, and if the crowd wouldn't have started screaming to get him, get him, get him, I would have stayed and did everything I could to help Mr. Rosenbaum, but the crowd just started to chase me and scream at me.
Let's play, can we have Exhibit 14, please? At the 3-hour, 58-minute, and 45-second mark. Okay, play from here, please.
Step up and blindside. So the orders you hear about yelling no cameras, it was white boys. That's Antifa, man. Oh, we got a gun, baby. Oh, they shoot. Oh, shot him.
Pause. After you fired your 4 shots at Mr. Rosenbaum, there were 3 more gunshots right after that, right?
Yes.
And those were coming from very close to where you were, weren't they?
Yes.
They were coming from right here on the south side of the 63rd Street car source, right alongside 63rd Street on the north side of 63rd, right?
Yes.
You didn't react at all to those gunshots, did you?
At that time, my audio was still going in and out partially.
But again, my question is, you didn't react at all to those, did you?
Not that I can see.
Okay, let's continue, please.
Shot him, man. Shot him. Shot him, man. He laid him out. He laid him out, Bob. He laid him out.
Pause. No one in that crowd yells, "Get him," or anything threatening towards you until after you start running away, right?
No.
You had time in that moment to make a phone call, didn't you?
I called Dominic Black, yes.
You could have called 911, right?
Yes.
But you chose to call your best friend, right?
I called the first number of my phone.
Is that quicker than 3 digits, 911?
I don't know.
And then you started running.
Yes.
And the first person you encounter as you're running is Jason Lakowski, correct?
Yes.
This is a person that you had barely known for 15 minutes that night, right?
Yes.
And you told him you didn't shoot anyone, correct?
No.
You heard his testimony about that, right?
Yes.
Can we please play exhibit number 12? While we're getting that ready, you talked earlier about this crowd and what they were saying, and you felt like they were coming after you. You had time to stop and have a brief little talk with Jason Lakowski, didn't you?
I stopped for a second and asked him to help me get to the police.
Even with this crowd on top of you, as you describe it, you still had time for that, didn't you?
For a second. I stopped for a second.
Let's play exhibit number 12, please.
So there was like 6 shots. Pulled me off.
Back up 10 seconds, please. Go ahead. Pause. There are people in the crowd that are asking you why you just shot someone, right?
Yes.
And you told him he had a gun.
At the time, I was a little dazed, and I was thinking of Mr. Zeminski with the pistol he had at the Duramax.
So you shot Mr. Rosenbaum because Joshua Zeminski had a pistol?
No.
You don't get to shoot someone else. You don't get to shoot someone else because someone else has
No.
a gun, right?
No.
But you told the crowd he had a gun, didn't you?
That's what I said.
And that wasn't true. Mr. Rosenbaum never had a gun, right?
He didn't have a gun.
Now can we please play exhibit number 3 at the 1 hour, 17 minute, and 10 second mark? One moment, please. This is an excerpt from the Gage Grosskreutz Facebook live stream that night.
Hey, what are you doing? You shot somebody? Who shot?
Pause. You told Mr. Grosskreutz you were going to the police, right?
Yes.
And then you said, I didn't shoot anyone, right?
I can't really make out what the last part of the words were saying.
Do you remember what you said?
I remember saying, I think I said I had to.
Let's play that back 10 seconds and play it again, please.
Hey, what are you doing? You shot somebody? Who shot? Who shot?
Pause. Pause. Aren't your exact words, I'm going to the police, I did not shoot anyone?
That's what I remember from that night, but watching that, it sounds like I said I didn't.
That, again, was not true. You just had shot someone, correct?
I did.
Why didn't you tell the truth?
I was being chased by a mob, and I don't really remember that interaction very well.
Let's play Exhibit 5, please. This is the BG on the scene video. Go ahead. Pause. Now, we we've heard a lot of testimony about this person who comes up behind you with something and hits you in the head. We've heard about Anthony Huber's first approach to you with his skateboard, correct?
Yes.
You testified that after a few more feet, you felt lightheaded and you stumbled. That's what you told when your attorney was asking you questions, correct?
Yes.
No one knocked you to the ground. You lost your own balance, correct?
I was hit to the point to where I stumbled.
You said in response to your attorney's questions that you stumbled because you were lightheaded. Do you remember telling us that?
From getting hit, yes.
You were lightheaded because you had been running and you were being chased. That was why you were lightheaded, right?
That and being hit, yes.
Let's continue. Pause. There is an individual who comes at you and jumps towards you and attempts to kick you, correct?
He does kick me, yes.
And you fire 2 shots directly at him with your AR-15, correct?
Yes.
You intended to hit him with those bullets, correct?
I intended for him. Yes.
At that close range, it's a miracle that you missed, right?
I don't know.
You intended to kill him with those shots, didn't you?
No.
Did you even care whether or not those 2 rounds were going to kill him?
I didn't want to have to kill anybody that night.
In this moment, you're making a deliberate decision to pull the trigger twice, correct?
Yes.
That wasn't an accident. That was your conscious decision, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you're firing an AR-15 at close range to this individual, correct?
Yes.
And you knew full well that if you hit him with 1 or both of those bullets, it could kill him, right?
There's that possibility.
If you hit him with one of those, wouldn't you agree it's a pretty strong likelihood you're going to kill him?
I don't know if...
Did that even factor into your mind at that point? Did you even care whether you were going to kill him or not?
I didn't want to have to kill anybody. I was being attacked. That's why I shot him. Shot at him.
You shot at him with the intent of hitting him and killing him, correct?
I didn't want to kill anybody.
Then why are you shooting at someone with an AR-15 at close range if you don't want to kill him?
Because he's attacking me. And he's stomping my face in. Jumping and kicking my face in.
That you didn't see any weapons on that person, did you?
No.
You didn't see a gun.
No.
You didn't see a knife.
No.
You didn't see a bat or a club.
No.
You didn't see a chain.
No.
All he uses is 1 foot, correct?
Yes.
Let's continue the video. Pause. You've just shot a round into Anthony Huber's chest, right?
Yes.
Now, up until this moment, and probably for the rest of that evening, you didn't know the name Anthony Huber, did you?
I did not.
Up until this moment in this evening, you had never had any interaction with him, took any notice of him, fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And when you shoot him, he's got his skateboard in his hand?
Yes.
You didn't see any gun in his hand, correct?
No.
You didn't see a knife?
No.
You didn't see a bat?
No.
You didn't see a club?
No.
All he's got is the skateboard, right?
That he's hit me in the head with twice, yes.
Okay. And you intended to pull the trigger at that moment with your AR-15, correct?
Yes.
That wasn't an accident.
No.
That was your deliberate decision, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that the way that gun was positioned, you were going to fire that bullet right into his chest, right?
He was attacking me, so I pulled the trigger.
And you knew that when you pulled that trigger, that bullet was going to go right into his chest, didn't you?
I can't say, I don't know where the bullet would have went exactly.
The end of that gun was pointed directly at his chest when you pulled the trigger, correct?
Yes.
And you knew that, correct?
Yes.
And you still pulled the trigger, didn't you?
Yes.
Because you intended to kill Anthony Huber at that moment, didn't you?
No.
What did you think was going to happen then? You got a gun that's aimed directly at his chest, You pull the trigger. What did you think was going to happen?
If I didn't pull the trigger, I thought Mr. Huber was going to kill me.
Maybe I misphrased my question. Let me try again. When you pull the trigger of the AR-15 and it is directly against Anthony Huber's chest, what did you think was going to happen to Anthony Huber?
That he would no longer be a threat to my safety.
Because he'd be dead, right?
Because he wouldn't be a threat to me. I don't know if he'd be dead or not.
Did you even care at that moment whether or not Anthony Huber lived and died?
Yes.
Your only concern in that moment was your own safety, correct?
Yes.
The next shooting is of Gage Grosskreutz. We have stopped the video at a moment here when he is crouched in front of you with his hands in the air, correct?
Yes.
Your gun is pointed at him, isn't it?
It's pointed downward towards his feet.
It's pointed at his body, some part of his body, correct?
Yes.
And he's no threat to you at this moment, is he?
Objection, Your Honor. He's standing in front of him with a gun.
That's an argument you can make. I'm asking a question of the witness.
You can answer the question.
Yes.
He's no threat to you at this moment, is he?
He is a threat. He has a gun in his hand.
You saw that gun.
Yes.
So at the moment, throughout all of these moments of your interaction with Mr. Grosskreutz, you were aware of the fact that he had that gun in his hand, correct?
Not until that moment.
I'm talking about from this moment on, correct?
Yes.
And of course, that's a handgun, right?
Yes.
And you have an AR-15, correct?
Yes.
And at this particular moment, he's not pointing his gun at you, is he?
Not at that moment.
But you've got your gun pointed at him, correct?
Looking at the video, I think I'm lowering my weapon. I think it's just a still shot of where you have it to where that, but I believe in the whole video I'm lowering it, and then he points his gun at me.
Can you help me understand, Mr. Rittenhouse, why Gage Grosskreutz, with a pistol in his hand, is a threat to kill you, but you, with an AR-15 pointed at him, is not a threat to kill him at this moment? Can you help me understand that?
I've been attacked by several people, and he decided to come and point a gun at my head. Well, first,
He hasn't done that yet, has he?
No.
So again, I ask you, in this moment, you told us Gage Grosskreutz is a threat to you right now.
Yes.
He's got a pistol not aimed at you. You've got an AR-15 aimed at him. Why is he more of a threat to you than you are to him?
Because he was moving at me with a gun in his hand.
This is right after you've killed Anthony Huber, correct?
Yes.
Right after you fired 2 shots at almost point-blank range at the man running towards the camera right now and missing him, correct?
Yes.
And you're telling us Gage Grosskreutz is the real threat at this moment?
Yes.
Can we please pull up exhibit number 80, beginning at frame 468? This is an exhibit which consists of, what's the number, 732? 729 frames from the BG on the Go video that we just watched. This was prepared by James Armstrong of the State Crime Lab. I'm not going to show all 729, but I'd like to start at frame 468, and we're going to go frame by frame from there until frame 500. Mr. Stute, could you please slowly advance frame by frame until I tell you to stop? Mr. Rittenhouse, this is immediately after Gage Grosskreutz has stopped in front of you and you are doing something with your firearm at that moment. Do you recall that?
Yes.
You were asked some questions about what you were doing at that moment. Is it fair to say that you turn your firearm over and you're looking at it, you're examining it?
Yes.
But your testimony is you didn't do anything to actually manipulate it at that moment.
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. Please continue. Frame 500 shows you firing your AR-15 towards Gage Grosskreutz. At this particular moment, he does not have that pistol pointed towards you, does he?
He does.
His left leg has stepped across not directly towards you, but to the side of you, correct?
Yes.
He's reaching in with his left arm towards you, correct?
Yes.
He never steps back and puts the gun in both hands in a ready aim position towards you, does he?
He doesn't do that.
He never takes that gun with his right hand and stands there and holds it out with his right hand in front of him and aims it directly at you, does he?
No, he does this, pointing it directly at my head.
And you thought that's the way he was going to shoot you?
Yeah.
You thought he ran up close to you to shoot you?
Yes.
You understand that he could have taken that gun if he wanted to and shot you from 10, 15, 20 feet away, right?
Can you rephrase? Sorry, I'm trying to understand the question.
You understand that a pistol like that doesn't need to be right up close to someone to shoot, right?
Yes.
It can shoot from 10, 15, 20 feet away, right?
Yes.
Mr. Grosskreutz could have stopped 10, 15, 20 feet away if he wanted to shoot you and fired his pistol at you, couldn't he have?
He could have, but he didn't.
And your testimony is that you believed he ran up close to you and reached in with his left hand with his gun in his right hand because that was his way of using this gun to shoot you?
Yes.
Did you think he was reaching in to grab your gun?
No.
You didn't think he was going to take your gun away, did you?
I thought he was going to shoot me.
With his pistol,
Yes.
which he never actually does. Correct?
Correct.
He never fires that gun at you at all.
No.
In fact, in this entire sequence of events, no one ever fired a gun at you, did they?
Mr. Zeminski fired a gun from behind me.
Did Mr. Zeminski fire that gun at you?
I believe so.
What do you base that on? Did you see it?
The video.
Did you see it?
No.
You're talking about back when the incident with Mr. Rosenbaum happens, correct?
Yes.
That happened while you and Mr. Rosenbaum are running across the car source lot, correct?
Yes.
At that moment in time, you didn't see Joshua Zeminski fire a shot, did you?
No.
You heard a gunshot, right?
Yes.
But you had no idea who fired it.
I believed it was Mr. Zeminski.
So that gunshot did not at all factor into your decision to kill Joseph Rosenbaum, did it?
No, Mr. Rosenbaum trying to steal my gun did.
So you didn't think that was a gunshot from Joseph Rosenbaum?
No.
You knew he didn't have a gun?
Wait a minute. Oh, I see what your question is now, okay. You didn't think that the shot which had been fired supposedly by Mr. Zeminski had been fired by Mr. Rosenbaum?
Exactly.
Okay.
So you heard a gunshot. You now know that was Joshua Zeminski based on watching the videos, right?
Yes.
But at the time, you didn't think that was Joseph Rosenbaum firing that shot, did you?
No.
You knew Joseph Rosenbaum didn't have a gun, right?
Yes.
And you certainly would agree with me that you don't have the right to kill Joseph Rosenbaum for something Joshua Zeminski does, correct?
Yes.
When you heard that gunshot, you didn't know whether it was fired at you or up in the air or at Rosenbaum or anyone else, did you?
I heard it from behind me, but I didn't.
You didn't know where it was aimed,
Correct.
correct? You didn't feel it hit you, correct?
Correct.
You didn't hear it ricochet anywhere near you, correct?
Correct.
You received no indication that that gunshot was going to put your life in danger, correct?
I don't know.
There were gunshots going off all night long, weren't there?
Sorta.
Firecrackers,
Fireworks,
gunshots?
yeah.
Hard to tell the difference?
Yeah.
Right after you kill Rosenbaum, there's 3 shots right after that, aren't there?
Yes.
From very close to where you were.
Yes.
Yet you don't turn and shoot anybody there after you hear those, did you?
No.
So, getting back to my original question. In this entire sequence of events, no one ever fired a shot at you, did they?
No.
After you kill Anthony Huber, shoot Gage Grosskreutz, and attempt to fire those 2 shots at the person who jumped at you, you got up and you walked away, didn't you?
Yes.
And you're about, what, a block away from the police line?
Yes.
And you know that police line's there because you're running towards it.
Yes.
And there's really nothing in the road between you and that police line, is there? After the shooting? Everybody
No.
scatters?
No, nothing in the road.
So you have a clear line of sight from where you did those shootings to those law enforcement vehicles, correct?
Yes.
And you still have your AR-15,
Yes.
and the crowd is pretty much run after they hear the shots, right?
Yes.
You still have your medic bag,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
You never once offer to help anybody that you just shot, correct?
I don't.
Correct, you don't?
Correct.
Anthony Huber is lying there over on the ground after you shot him once in the chest, correct?
Yes.
You didn't know at that point whether he was alive or dead, did you?
I didn't.
You never went over to check, did you?
No.
You didn't know whether it was possible to save his life at that moment or not, did you?
I didn't.
And you didn't even care. You just kept on walking. Correct?
I kept walking to get to the police line.
Gage Grosskreutz, right after you shoot him in the arm, is yelling, "I need a medic." Did you hear that?
Yes.
That's in the videos, isn't it?
Yes.
You don't do anything to help him, do you?
No.
You just decide to get out of there as fast as you can. Correct?
Yes.
If you had seen someone running up the street with a gun and the crowd was saying that that person just shot someone, like they were saying about you, you would have taken action to stop them yourself, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't have.
You're running around putting out fires, aren't you?
Yes.
A shooting's far more serious than a fire, isn't it?
Yes.
You took it upon yourself to do the things that the police and the fire departments weren't doing that night, correct?
I helped put out fires, but I wouldn't say that.
You went around offering medical service because you didn't think there were EMTs or EMS that would be able to come in there, correct?
Yes.
So you took it upon yourself to do the things that you didn't think the police or fire could do, correct?
I wouldn't say I took it upon myself, but I was helping people with first aid and putting out fires at businesses.
So if you saw someone running with a gun and everybody said, that guy just shot someone, you would have taken your AR-15 and tried to stop him, wouldn't you?
What's the relevance of this, Mr. Mayor?
It goes to the crowd's reaction to him, Your Honor. I think he would have reacted the same way.
Mr. Rittenhouse is on trial. The crowd is important in terms of it's a factor that bears on some of the counts as to what the surroundings were. Otherwise, the crowd is unimportant, and what he might have done vis-a-vis the crowd is I don't see where we're going.
Understood. When you got back to that police line, and what'd you say, they pepper sprayed you?
I believe so, but I don't remember it.
They told you to get out of the road
Yes.
because they were going in there to
Yes.
do what you hadn't done, which is to try and help the people that you just shot, right?
Yes.
And then you went back after that to the 59th Street car source, didn't you?
Yes.
And you told them that you just shot someone.
Yes.
Someone, meaning an individual person, correct?
I wasn't meaning individual. I was saying I just shot someone. I just shot someone.
You were told by Nick Smith that the police were coming to your location, to the 59th Street car source, right?
I don't recall that.
And yet, you decided to flee, didn't you?
No.
You didn't stick around for the police, did you?
I went to go turn myself into the Antioch Police Department
A couple of hours later.
an hour.
Actually, it wasn't a couple hours. He knows what time it was.
I'm asking the witness if the witness can answer.
Go ahead, you can answer, sir.
It was a couple of hours later, wasn't it?
No.
And in between leaving that location in downtown Kenosha and getting to Antioch, you were looking at social media, weren't you?
No, I wasn't. My phone was dead.
You had heard from other people that your name was out there, right?
Later on in the evening, I believe I heard something, but no.
You knew that your picture was out there, right?
No.
You're telling me, as you sit here under oath, that after those shootings, between then and the time you turned yourself into the Antioch Police Department, you had no idea that there was social media out there with your picture and your name as the shooter?
I'm trying to recall, but I can't. I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
I have no further questions.
I have nothing on that, Your Honor.
You may step down, sir.
Your Honor, I have a witness. But before that, call that witness. I need to use the men's room.
About a 5 to 10 minute break. Please don't talk about the case during the break. You may either use the jury room or you may remain down here in the library.
Can I have a big